If you're watching this video, don't scroll away. What you're about to hear is a story of betrayal, courage, and a mother's fight for justice. Hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from, because this is a storm no mother should face alone. That night, the rain didn't just fall. It attacked our small town like an angry beast. I was in my kitchen, folding clothes under the weak yellow light, when my phone rang. Clara. My daughter's name flashed on the screen. My heart skipped. "Clara, honey?" I answered, but what I heard froze my blood. Her voice was broken, almost swallowed by the storm. "Mom, I'm so cold. Help me. Save my baby." I jumped from my chair. "Where are you?" All I heard was, "Andrew left me at a bus stop. It hurts so much," and then a scream that tore through my chest, followed by silence. The line went dead. I called again and again, nothing. Just that cold operator's voice telling me the number wasn't available. My head spun. Bus stop, Andrew? The baby? Where was she? I threw on my old raincoat, grabbed my late husband's truck keys, and tore through the storm. The wipers squealed as I drove, my eyes straining to see through the downpour. First stop, the hospital. Clara had her pregnancy checkup that day. The nurse told me Andrew picked her up earlier, so why was she calling me for help now? Next, their house. Pitch black. No answer, just the wind howling. Then, the westbound highway, the only route from hospital to home. I stopped at every bus stop, stepping into the freezing rain, yelling her name. At the third stop, my headlights caught a flash of something pale on the ground. My stomach dropped. Clara's maternity coat, the one I bought when she was 7 months pregnant. It was soaked and filthy. Next to it, a shattered phone. My legs trembled as I picked them up. "Clara," I whispered. And then I saw her. She was huddled in the corner of the shelter, shaking, holding a newborn baby in nothing but a diaper. Her lips were purple. Her face was paper white. I ran, falling to my knees in the freezing water. I wrapped the baby in a towel and my jacket around her. "Honey, Mom's here. I'm here." I called 911, barely able to speak through tears. 10 minutes felt like a lifetime. The baby wasn't crying. Clara's eyes fluttered open and she whispered, "Andrew, abandon me," before collapsing against my shoulder. The paramedics arrived just in time. "It's a good thing you found them," one said, rushing them to the ambulance. At the hospital, I sat in the hallway all night in my soaked clothes. Over and over, I replayed that scream in my head. What had he done to her? 3 days passed before she finally woke up. Her hand was cold when I held it. "You're okay now, sweetie. I'm here," I whispered. When I asked her what happened, she stared into the distance. "Andrew left me because I talked back." Talked back? Clara was the gentlest soul. What could she have possibly said? Andrew never came to the hospital, not once. When I called, he answered with silence, then sent a text. "You have no business meddling in my family." Family? He left my daughter to give birth alone in a storm. When Clara was discharged, I took her and the baby, little Liam, to my house. I was making soup for her that night when I heard loud banging at my door. It was Andrew's mother, Olivia, with 3 nosy neighbors behind her. "We've been looking for Clara for 3 days," she shouted. "The girl has postpartum depression and ran away." "And you hid her?" I was speechless. Another neighbor chimed in. "Andrew's been looking for her every night. Poor boy. Poor boy." My blood boiled. "It was Andrew who left my daughter at a bus stop in the middle of a storm," I shouted. Just then, Andrew arrived in his SUV, looking calm and clean, carrying formula like a devoted husband. He spoke coldly. Mrs. Linda, Clara needs to come home. If this continues, I'll call the police." "You're both unstable." I wanted to claw the smugness off his face, but before I could speak, Clara appeared at the door, holding Liam. Her eyes were red but steady. "Mom, it's okay." "Let me go," she said softly. "I don't want to make things worse for you." I froze. I had no proof, just my word against his. The neighbors whispered, Their eyes were judging. I watched helplessly as Clara got into that silver SUV with the baby. Andrew opened the door for her, smiling like the perfect husband, but when his eyes met mine, they were cold. As the car disappeared into the rain, I clenched my fists. I wasn't going to let this slide. I called my brother Mark that night. "We need proof," I said. The next day, I went to his workshop, clutching Clara's shattered phone. "See if you can recover anything," I begged. Mark examined it. "It's bad, but I'll try. And Linda, if you want to catch this guy, you need more than your word." He's slick. Then he said something I never imagined I'd agree to. "What if we put cameras in their house?" I hesitated. "Is that even legal?" He looked me straight in the eye. "Do you want to save Clara?" My stomach twisted, but I nodded. Saturday came. I followed Andrew and Clara to the supermarket. As soon as they went inside, Mark slipped into their house using the spare key under a flower pot. 10 minutes later, he texted, "Done." Camera in the living room, Mike behind the curtain near the crib. That night, Mark and I sat in my living room watching the live feed. What we saw made my blood run cold. Andrew stormed in after work, shouting, "This house is a pigsty." "You're useless." Clara sat on the couch, hugging Liam silently, like a shadow. He jabbed a finger at her face. "Why can't you be half the woman Brooke is?" "Brooke? Who the hell was Brooke?" Mark and I exchanged a look. That night, at midnight, Liam started crying. Clara took him to the balcony, softly singing. Andrew came out, his voice like ice. "If you go out here again, don't expect me to pick you up next time." He slammed the door, leaving her alone in the cold night. I turned off the laptop, shaking. I wanted to run there, grab her, and never let her go. But I knew this was only the beginning. For the next week, Mark and I watched hour after hour of footage. Andrew wasn't just cruel, he was calculated. He insulted Clara daily, compared her to this mysterious Brooke, and acted like a saint in public. But I needed the moment, the proof of that stormy night when he abandoned her. I drove back to that third bus stop where I'd found her. I showed Clara's photo to anyone who'd listen. Most shook their heads, but at a small gas station I met an older trucker. When I asked if he'd seen her, his eyes narrowed in thought. "That night it was pouring," he said. "I thought I saw something by the bus stop, figured it was a sign broken by the wind. I didn't stop, I was hauling gas. But I have a dash cam." My heart jumped. 2 hours later, in a tiny cafe, I watched the footage with him and his nephew. And there it was, Andrew's silver SUV, 10:36 p.m. He got out in a raincoat, shouted something into the passenger seat, pointed, then slammed the door. He drove off, leaving Clara stumbling in the rain, clutching her belly, before collapsing. Tears ran down my face. "It's her," I whispered. The trucker handed me the footage on a USB. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of power in my hands. I brought it to Mark. He reviewed it, nodded. "Linda, this is it. This and the home recordings are enough to bury him." But the storm wasn't done yet. One evening, as I watched more footage, I saw Andrew's phone light up on the table beside him. He glanced at it, stepped outside, and answered in a sweet, fake voice. "Brooke, my love, rest well today, okay?" My jaw clenched. There it was again. Brooke. He spoke tenderly to her just a few feet away from Clara, who sat silently feeding Liam like she'd heard it all before. My chest ached. That night, I decided to find Brooke. I visited the neighborhood laundromat where gossip travels faster than wind. "Terry," I asked casually, "do you know a Brooke around here?" Terry raised an eyebrow. "Brooke Rivers. Pretty, always dressed like a queen. Lives at the beginning of 5th Street. Bad reputation, though, spends money like water." Andrew was a mid-level office worker. How was he funding that lifestyle? That evening, I parked my truck on 5th Street. At 7 p.m., Andrew's silver SUV appeared. He stepped out wearing a crisp white shirt. A young woman with long, glossy hair came out of the building. He hugged her, kissed her forehead, then they walked in hand. My hands shook as I recorded everything on my phone. He wasn't just emotionally abusing my daughter, he was betraying her with another woman. I showed the video to Clara that night. She watched it silently, then broke down in sobs. "I knew it," she whispered. "I saw messages once." He laughed at me, said I was crazy. That night, the night he left me at the bus stop, it was because I confronted him. I held her, her body trembling in my arms. "Why didn't you tell me?" She shook her head. He said if I told anyone, he'd make people think I was insane. My blood turned to ice. He'd broken her down so badly she doubted her own reality. The next day, I went to Andrew's workplace. I introduced myself at reception as his mother-in-law. The receptionist lowered her voice. "Ma'am, haven't you heard? Management's investigating Andrew. Suspicious money transfers. They think he's involved." It hit me like a flash, the luxury apartment, the gifts, Brooke's lifestyle. It all made sense. A week later, my phone rang at noon. "Mrs. Linda? This is Robert Miller, VP of Andrew's company. We've received evidence, the dashcam, recordings, we'd like to meet." I was nervous but determined. At their glass-walled headquarters, I sat in a conference room clutching my folder of evidence. Mr. Miller and Valerie Peterson, an internal auditor, joined me. Valerie opened her laptop. "In the last 3 months," she said, "$112,000 has been withdrawn through fake payrolls and transferred to an account under Brooke Rivers. It funded her apartment and luxury spending." We traced every cent. I wasn't surprised, but seeing the numbers made my stomach twist. I handed them the USB with footage and documents. They watched Andrew abandon Clara in the rain. They listened to his cruel words. They saw him with Brooke. Miller drummed his fingers on the table. "Mrs. Linda, this is strong evidence." He was terrified Clara would expose his double life and the fraud. 2 days later, Mark called. "Linda, Andrew's suspended. Internal investigation is on." But Andrew struck back. The next morning, I opened Facebook and froze. A long, manipulative post from Andrew's profile. "When you try to be a good husband, but they turn you into the villain." He posted sweet clips, him holding Liam, kissing Clara's forehead, all staged. Soft music, perfect lighting. A lie. His mother Olivia commented first, posting a fake medical document claiming Clara had postpartum emotional disorder. She implied I was a toxic mother trying to tear them apart. The post went viral in our small community. Hundreds shared it. Neighbors whispered. People I'd known for years suddenly looked at me like I was the villain. Some even messaged me privately, "Auntie, please don't make things worse." I was furious, but I stayed silent. He wanted me to lash out so he could paint me as unstable. 2 nights later, Mark found something chilling. "Linda, look," he said, pointing at footage. This sweet clip he uploaded was filmed the same day he slapped Clara for dropping a glass of water. I watched the video, Andrew smiling with Liam in his arms. Then a few hours later, the hidden camera caught him yelling, "How can you take care of a baby if you're this clumsy?" and striking her. My fists tightened. He had filmed these fake loving father videos long before, just to build a perfect image online. Then Olivia posted that medical paper. I stared at it. The clinic's logo looked familiar. Later that night, the news reported a fraud ring selling fake psychological certificates. The same clinic. I snapped a picture, sent it to Mark and Rebecca, a lawyer I'd contacted. Rebecca replied instantly, "Linda, this is critical. If we prove the document is fake, their whole act collapses." Mark confirmed the next morning. "That registration number doesn't exist." Olivia used a forged document. I felt a surge of strength. Finally, the truth was catching up to them. We gathered everything. The dashcam footage of Andrew abandoning Clara, hidden camera recordings of his verbal abuse, photos of him with Brooke, financial records proving fraud, the fake medical document and the news report exposing it. I walked into the police station with that folder like it was my life. The officer reviewed every page, every video. His face hardened. Mrs. Linda, he said, this is serious. We're opening a case for domestic violence, fraud, and document forgery. Within 2 days, the case went to court. The hearing was set for 2 weeks later. Andrew grew quiet online, but I knew that silence wasn't remorse. It was strategy. Mark called late one night. He's moving money out of Brooke's accounts into e-wallets. He's cutting ties to cover his tracks. I didn't pity Brooke. She'd chosen to be with him. But I saw his cruelty clearly. He would betray anyone to save himself. The morning of the hearing was gray and heavy. I sat beside Clara in the courthouse, holding her trembling hand. Liam slept in her arms, unaware of the storm around him. Rebecca reviewed our evidence like a soldier preparing for battle. Valerie arrived with accounting records stamped in red. Today, she said calmly, he won't escape. 10 minutes late, Andrew walked in wearing a light gray suit, hair slicked back, Olivia on one side, Brooke on the other. Brooke kept her head down. Clara's eyes filled with pain as she saw her, the woman who'd shared her husband's lies. I leaned toward her. You're strong, Clara. I'm here. She nodded faintly, clutching Liam closer. The hearing began. Rebecca presented the evidence, one piece after another. The room grew quieter with every clip, every document. Jury members' faces shifted from doubt to shock. Then Andrew's lawyer stood up. We all braced for a fight. But instead, he said calmly, "We do not dispute the evidence." A murmur swept the courtroom. My heart pounded. What was his game? Andrew stood, looked the judge in the eye, and said, "I admit I made mistakes. But I wasn't the mastermind. My mother Olivia and Brooke planned everything. The posts, the fake documents. I only followed their instructions." The room erupted. Olivia leapt to her feet, pointing at him. "Liar, you told me to do everything." The judge slammed the gavel. "Order in the court." Brooke sat frozen, her hands clenched, her face pale. For the first time, I saw fear in Andrew's eyes, the fear of a cornered man. And then, Brooke was called to the stand. Brooke walked slowly to the witness stand, eyes downcast, hands trembling. She looked nothing like the confident woman I'd seen on 5th Street. For a moment, the entire courtroom was silent. Even the air felt heavy. The technician handed her a microphone. The judge's voice was firm. "Miss Rivers, do you have anything to clarify?" Brooke took a deep breath, then reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Her voice shook at first but grew steadier with each word. "Yes, I have a lot to say." She handed her phone to the court technician. On the big screen, message after message appeared. Andrew's messages to her. "If this explodes, blame it all on my mom. I'll say she faked it alone. You'll be safe. Make sure you edit out the part where I get annoyed with the diapers. It has to look perfect." And then, an email thread with a man named Robert M., the fake doctor. Andrew negotiated $3,000 for a falsified medical certificate about Clara's mental state. The courtroom gasped. I pressed my hand to my mouth. It was worse than I'd imagined. Next, a document popped up on the screen, a drafted version of Andrew's manipulative Facebook post. It had his signature at the bottom. Brooke hadn't written it. He had. Then came a short audio clip. Andrew's voice, angry and sharp. "You didn't edit it right, Brooke. You left the part where I rolled my eyes. How can I keep my image if you can't follow simple instructions?" The judge leaned forward. The jury stared at the screen in stunned silence. Brooke turned toward the judge. Her voice broke but carried weight. "I was wrong. I thought he loved me. But he lied to me, to his wife, to everyone. He planned everything. The fake papers, the social media campaign, the fraud. I can't keep covering for him." Andrew exploded, shouting, "You're lying! You promised!" The judge slammed the gavel. "Silence, defendant." I looked at Clara. Her hands were gripping Liam, her eyes wide but wet with tears. She whispered, "Mom," and I squeezed her hand. Rebecca stood holding a USB. "Your Honor, these financial records line up with Brooke's testimony. Every fake payroll transaction matches the luxury apartment rent and purchases under Brooke's name, all timed to the company's money withdrawals. It paints one clear picture. Andrew Salgado built a double life on fraud, manipulation, and abuse. The judge nodded gravely. The jury deliberated for only 30 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. I sat there staring at the walls, listening to Liam's soft breathing. My heart pounded like a drum. When the jury returned, Judge Peterson's expression was sharp and unwavering. She lifted the gavel and her voice echoed through the room. Andrew Salgado is found guilty of organized domestic violence, document forgery, and corporate fraud. He is sentenced to 9 years in prison with asset seizure and permanent termination of parental rights. He is prohibited from contacting Clara or Mrs. Easy. Linda for life. The courtroom went completely silent. Then a soft sob broke through. Clara. She held Liam tight against her chest. Tears flowed freely down her cheeks, but they weren't the same tears from that stormy night. These were tears of relief. I reached for her hand, my own eyes blurry. I didn't cry. I sat tall. I had fought through storms, whispers, lies, and fear, and we had finally won. Andrew sat frozen, pale, eyes darting like a trapped animal. Brooke didn't look at him. Olivia, his mother, stayed seated, head bowed, lips pressed tight. The woman who once stood on my doorstep accusing me of hiding Clara now had nothing to say. As Andrew was escorted out in handcuffs, a wave of quiet settled over the courtroom. It wasn't triumph I felt. It was something deeper, justice, heavy and real. Outside, reporters snapped photos. Neighbors who once whispered behind my back avoided my gaze. I didn't care. All I saw was my daughter holding her baby, sunlight peeking through the courthouse clouds, touching their faces like a quiet blessing. Weeks passed. The chaos died down. Andrew's story became old news. Brooke vanished from town. Olivia moved away, and in our small kitchen, life slowly returned. One sunny morning, Clara sat across from me, little Liam gurgling in his crib. She looked different, calmer, stronger. Her hair was tied up neatly, and for the first time in months, she wore a real smile. "Mom," she said softly, "I want to do something. For other women like me. For women who don't have proof, or someone to fight for them." I felt a warmth spread through my chest. "What are you thinking?" She smiled. "A foundation. A place where women can find help, legal, emotional, financial. A light in the dark." We named it the Bright Light Foundation, after Liam, our little light who had survived a stormy night. As weeks turned into months, Clara blossomed. She wasn't the same fragile girl who whispered for help through the storm. She became a woman with purpose, holding her son in one arm and hope in the other. And me? I learned that a mother's love is quiet but unbreakable. Sometimes it's not loud. It doesn't always come with grand gestures. Sometimes it's sitting in a cold hallway all night. Sometimes it's digging for truth when the world calls you a liar. It's standing tall when everyone whispers. I often think back to that night. The rain, the broken phone, the scream. If I had hesitated even a minute, Clara and Liam might not have survived. But I didn't. Because mothers don't. We move. We fight. Even when no one believes us. And now, if you're hearing this, maybe this story isn't just ours. Maybe it's yours too. Maybe you're a mother watching your daughter fade behind closed doors. Maybe you're a friend who suspects something's wrong. Or maybe you're a woman who's felt trapped in silence. Please, don't ignore the signs. Don't let the whispers drown out the truth. Speak up, fight. And if you can't fight alone, find someone who will fight beside you. If this story touched your heart, hit like, subscribe, and share it so it can reach someone who might need a spark of courage today. And tell me in the comments, have you ever witnessed a situation like this? Your voice might be the light someone's waiting for. Because sometimes, justice starts with one person daring to say, enough.